And we're good.
Hey, welcome to Instant Reaction. It's the Blues Banner post-game show here live on YouTube channel. Thanks for joining us. Make sure you hit that subscribe and like button. And Jays win. Big win for the Jays, 73-67. Take down undefeated in the Big East Providence. And move ahead to face Butler on Tuesday night at Hinkle. But we're going to move right into Coach's Corner. And today we have assistant coach Ryan Miller with us. Hi, Coach.
How's it going, Tim?
Great, man. Great win. Congratulations. I thought you guys really focused today on getting that ball downhill and into the paint.
Yeah, it was one of those things we need to get more paint touches and scores around the rim. And, Calc Benner and then Kaluma late with a huge drive and finish. And, the threes weren't falling. So we had to score around the basket and score or get fouled, which we did towards the end of the game.
Yeah, I thought, if you just put 5-on-5, starting 5 and forget about the bench and everything, I thought that kind of might have been a little bit of a bad matchup for Providence. It's one of the few games lately here where Calc's been able to stay back in the paint because Croswell isn't an outside shooter. And then Baylor bothers them a little bit with his length and Trey with his ability to get to the rim.
Yeah, regardless, we'd like to there's some favorable matchups out in the court for them. There's some favorable matchups for us, and then both coaches are really good coaches, and Cooley is able to, take advantage of some favorable matchups. And on our end too, there's a place where we were able to attack. So it's one of those games. We got good production and minutes out of our bench, and we just got to keep that going. We got to get more and more production out of our bench, and the guys, the first five that has experience, need to carry us to victory down the stretch like they did today.
I thought also did a pretty good job on Hopkins.
Yeah, he did a pretty good job at times. I mean, he went to the free throw line too many times. That was a big point of emphasis for us to take away the fouling. He was able to get to the free throw line late and during the course of the game, and we fouled probably a little too much. We were trying to avoid fouling, but they do such a good job. They're first in the league in drawing fouls. We knew that going in, and we tried to do what we could by showing our hands and chesting and not reaching in and fouling, but they caught us a few times, and the refs called them and got us in a little bit of foul trouble, but overall it was pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, that's what they do is get to the line. So I think, the fact that, we won that battle was big for us today.
Yeah, no question. We scored more points than they did from the free throw line, so that was key. And Chuck Benner coming up there and making free throws down the stretch was key too. So overall, good performance by our team and by everybody, including our bench.
Yeah, and then Trey, even though he didn't make a lot of shots, he made a lot of free throws today. He got to the line, initiated contact, and really did a great job of putting the pressure on Providence.
Yeah, our guys did a good job of like you said earlier, getting downhill, being able to attack the rim, especially the shots not going down, and that's what you need to do. You need to score around the rim or get fouled, and Trey was able to score around the rim a few times, also get fouled, and go to the free throw line and make some big free throws. So all those things were keys to our victory.
What was it, coming off two tough losses to two very, very good basketball teams, obviously. But, today was a game where, really would help our cause to get a win. What was practice like and what was said going into this game?
Just business as usual, really. Just, lost a couple tough ones on the road. And you wake up, you go with the process, and the process get better every single day. And on to the next one. And the next one was Providence. So prepare to win the game. And that's what we did. We prepared for 2 days, got ready for Providence, and then you play it. Now we got to turn the page after this game. It was a big win for us, but we got to turn the page and go win at Butler, who just won, beat Villanova last night. So it's going to be another tough challenge for us.
Yeah. What I've been asking everybody this the last few days. What causes Hinkle to be so tough to play in?
I mean, it's one of the legendary gyms in basketball. It's a historic place. It has a lot of mystique to it, and they got a good crowds, and the crowd's right on top of you, so it gets loud. And, they have a good home court advantage. So, we're going to play our A game there to have a chance to win.
Oh, I get that, but I mean, I've been on that court. I've shot a basketball on that court actually, and God, it seems like one of those old gyms you can just run up and down in all night long.
Yeah, we probably should do the Hoosiers thing. Go get in there because that's where they filmed it at. We should take a tape measure and say the hoop's 10 feet tall. Yeah, we probably should. But it's a tough place to play. And, maybe he had it right. I can't remember the coach's name from Hoosiers, but that's a pretty historic scene when he goes in the gym and he at Hinkle and he takes that tape measure and say, "Hey, see guys, the hoop is 10 feet tall. Maybe that's what we got to do with our guys to make them wear that home court advantage. It's all the same. It's 10 feet everywhere.
I think so. And I've had some guys through over the years goes, well, the rims are a little soft, and I go, yeah, but shooters like soft rims. Come on.
No question. So it will be an interesting challenge for us. And, this group has played well on the road, and hopefully we continue to do that.
Yeah. Hey, Ross.
Hey, can you hear me all right?
Yes, sir.
You got something for Coach Miller?
Yeah, Coach, I'm just I'm curious, what you learn about your guys today. Obviously Providence goes on a nice little run there in the second half to get back in the game and tie the game at one point. And I thought you guys showed pretty darn good resolve. And I'm just curious what you saw from the team kind of being in there and being in the thick of things today.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that obviously Providence is a good team. They're going to make a run at you. They made their run there, and we had a couple things go against us, a charge block here, there. So we had a little bit of adversity. They made some tough shots. They out-rebounded us, and we just had to bounce back and try to figure it out. And to the guys' credit, they handled the adversity well. They didn't put their heads down and salt. As Providence made their run, they bowed up their chest and finished the game. So couldn't be more proud of them.
All right, Coach, thanks so much. Congratulations. Great win. Let's get one in Butler. We got to get that one.
Yeah, like you guys said, it's gonna be a tough game. Historically, we haven't played well there, so hopefully, history is not on our side, and we figure out the mystique of Hinkle Fieldhouse.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Coach.
All right, guys, have a good one. Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, bye.
That's assistant coach Ryan Miller here on Coach's Corner. If you just joined us, welcome to Instant Reactions, the Blue Jay Banner post-game show. We jumped right in with Coach. Ross, I'd like to hear your thoughts on the game.
Yeah, I was pretty impressed with, like I said, kind of, my question to Coach Miller. I was pretty impressed with the resolve of the guys in the second half to really weather the storm there, especially Art. Art had a couple of really, really big buckets back to back after he just really hadn't played a great game up until that point. So it's, Providence is a really tough team. It's interesting. I look at that team and I don't know if I think they're better than last year's, but they're certainly, the record would indicate that they're just as good. So I'm impressed with Providence, especially with what they're doing without Jared Bynum. Quite frankly, I think they've got some really nice pieces.
Yeah.
I remember I watched them the very first game of the year. They played, not Radford, Ryder at home, and they barely won. They should have lost to Ryder at home, first game of the year. And I remember thinking, gosh, this team's going to take a step back this year, and they've just completely proved me wrong. And some of their pieces have come together really nicely. Hopkins is a really nice player. Devin Carter's a really nice player. Breed has turned into a nice player in that role. Croswell, they've just got some
Locke
guys.
hit some really tough shots as well.
Locke killed us today.
Yeah, Locke. Yeah, I mean, gosh, Locke is a really talented player. So they've just, especially they're doing all this without Bynum, like I said. So just impressed with the guys. I thought the bench looked much more comfortable tonight. In there, I thought Fran played pretty darn well in his minutes. I thought Mason gave some good minutes. So I'm just pleased with the guys to get a win and hopefully keep it going, man. Like you said, we got to get a win at Butler.
I want to talk about Coloma because a lot of people, man, I got Texas today again. A lot of people are not on his side. And they don't want him to play, and they don't like Coloma, and they think he's like holding this team back. And
they don't want him to play. What?
Yeah, well, they don't. They just don't like him when he's in there. They don't like things he does.
I can second that.
And we have a group now with Nemhard. I got to tell you, I'm not where they are, but I'm inching on both those guys. I mean, Ryan Nemhard's got to start stepping up here at some point. He has not had a particularly good season. And it just seems like he's just doesn't know what to do when he penetrates this year. He doesn't have the feel like he's had the last few years.
Well, he's only a sophomore. I mean,
Well,
you know,
last year he was only a freshman. Okay, so
well, I
freshman
know,
of
but
the year. He's freshman of the year in the Big East. Let's be honest here. He has not taken the leap that most people thought he
would. In fairness to him, you add a guy like Baylor, and there's just a little bit of a different dynamic. I think Ryan's shooting has been very, very, very streaky. He's probably been the streakiest guy on the team in that regard. And so I think that's maybe affected him quite a bit on the offensive end of the floor. And, it's interesting. I see that. I thought he turned down. I thought the ball moved. There was a possession in the first half where he got kicked off of penetration. He was wide open for three and he didn't take it. But he'll take some of these threes here where guys go under ball screens. I just think that those are just much more difficult shots than when he's trying to catch it.
That's what he's talking about, his decision making,
shoot and rhythm. But it's still, quite honestly, Tim, to me, it still feels like there is. I mean, we're 18 games in now. It just, especially with Baylor, it just still feels like all these like kind of elevated roles for everybody. And then you add Baylor, it still feels like everybody's feeling each other out a little bit. I can't put my finger on it quite a bit, but we haven't really had a game. I'd have to go back and look at the box scores, but like just from my eye, like we haven't really had a game where all five of those starters have been really good. Like every single one of them down the line has been really good. So
that's what we mentioned the other night on our postgame. I said the exact thing you just said. Was I can't put my finger on it, but there's something just a little bit off, it just doesn't seem to be totally meshed or connected like the term Mac likes to use. But but I'm less on Nembhard, but more on Kaluma. I mean, today again, geez, he just made two just bonehead plays in a row. I mean, it's just like he seems to do that every game. That pass he tried to make Kalkbrenner, I have no idea what he thought how he could.
Which one?
In the second half. He turned around. He just tried to throw it into Kalkbrenner, and he was well guarded. It was just an easy turnover. I mean, those kind of plays, the other night he backed his guy down into Kalkbrenner for some reason, just his decision-making times. I thought today he was better on, not dribbling the ball so much, a couple dribbles and making a decision. And I think that's better for Arthur.
Yeah, I think that there is a little bit. I don't, if you remember the year before we won Big East regular season, where we had 1 million close losses. So, it was early in Tyshawn's career, Mitch's career, Davion Mintz, etc. Yeah. I thought that team got way too sped up at times. Now, this team doesn't turn it over near as much as that team did. But there are some similarities in the sense of I think this team, our current team, also tends to get a little too sped up at times because we're playing fast. We didn't play nearly as fast last year, so we didn't see as much of that, right? But there are some similarities in like I feel like our urgency is like almost too much, where we just make really dumb decisions, and. Again, it's not like we're turning it over at a crazy high clip or anything. So maybe I'm just kind of, reaching there a little bit, but it just feels like there are some of those aspects, quite frankly.
Well, it just seems like the turnovers are coming at the most inopportune time. You know what I mean? Like, Providence had 3, I think, in the first 4 possessions. Okay. Mm-hmm. You kind of forget about that when you're in the, 38th minute of the game. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
But hey, let me give you just a welcome to everybody to Instant Reactions, the Blue Jay Banner postgame show. Let's talk about our fabulous sponsors, Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. Been serving Nebraska since 1882. 2 great area locations at 20th and Elkhorn, and also just north of TD Ameritrade headquarters. We also have West Pacific Dental Group, Dr. Robert Hogan, so check them out as well. And then also our newer sponsor, Infusion Brewing. I do have a Let It Fly here, so I'm going to crack that a little bit. But I thought I would, since we're kicking off the NFL playoffs, get to the walk-on red ale, the football beer. So here we go.
Hey, Tim, I got you covered today, too.
Yeah, there we go. Nice.
There we go.
Very nice. Very nice.
I wish I could join you guys. I don't. I'm in the office. I got a Diet Coke. Sorry. But I do like the last 5 years.
And if you were with us after our post game the other night, you remember we got a call from Ed. And Ed said, "Hey, Tim, I'm going to meet up with you. I'm going to, say hi to you." And Ed lived up to the expectation and said hi to me. And now he's joining us right here on the show. Hi, Ed.
Hey, Tim. Nice to meet you today. I'm sorry I'm a little hoarse from screaming at the officials for the entire game. But I promised you that they would get this win today since I was coming to visit, and it seemed like they held on their promise.
Yeah, what did you think about the game overall?
Yeah, I mean, again, I think Ross said it really well just a minute ago, right? This team just makes some silly decisions that I don't understand. But all in all, it's a good win when a team comes back on you that, they never should have come back. And I thought, you got to win these tough games. I still don't understand how officials are calling these games. Somebody maybe sometime will explain it to me so that I can understand how that just impacts the game itself. And I thought that took the team completely out of its rhythm when you have, the player that's playing the best pick up, 3 and then 4 fouls.
Yeah. We're going to have a long discussion about the officiating. We generally do worst call of the night, and generally we maybe only have one nominee. We probably have a half dozen to a dozen today. So, yeah, no doubt that was a little bit strange.
I think this whole, and I don't care who the call goes against, this offensive foul call in college basketball has gotten completely out of hand, where you got a guy who doesn't have position, cuts in front of the guy who's trying to dribble, whether it's 20 feet away from the basket. If he's not extending his arm, it's not an offensive foul, and it just continues to happen. And it's the worst call in college basketball.
The issue with it is the subjectivity of it.
It is, yeah. The NBA's figured it out. They figured out how to deal with that. College basketball needs to figure that out because it's honestly terrible.
Well, there's that, and then there's a guy standing 10 feet from the basket, eating a ham sandwich and drinking a Coke, and gets run over and gets called for a block.
It was funny to watch Baylor set up for that play, because I was watching him very clearly set up to take that charge. I couldn't believe they called a block. I honestly couldn't believe it.
Unbelievable. He was there so early.
Even with the terrible officiating, though, Tim, I mean, there really was no reason for them to let Providence back in the game. And, one question that I have for you all watching the game, in person today especially, is seeing how many wide open shots guys are passing up. And I'm just wondering, maybe you can help me with that. Ross, maybe you can tell me what your thought is there. Just guys, and you talked about Nembhard especially taking shots when guys go under screens instead of, in rhythm threes when he's getting the ball open. Why are these guys passing up these shots?
I think this team has a tendency, and it's almost like sort of a good problem to have, I suppose. Like, they have a tendency to just really overpass. I think a lot of them have a tendency to shot fake too much, get guys off the ground, and then just overpass instead of taking open shots. I don't really know what that is, but that's been my observation from really kind of the beginning of the season. And I think they've gotten a little bit better in that regard, but still, I think there was a lot of overpassing, which, again, you'd rather have a team that does that than a team that's, buries their head down and goes one-on-one and doesn't do any passing. But still, I think there are some open shots that are being passed up maybe in that regard.
Yeah, it's definitely painful when you see a guy pass. And I understand the notion of passing up an open shot for a better shot, right? Especially early in the shot clock. But when you're down to 9 seconds and you're catching the ball wide open, I think you just got to pull the trigger at some point.
Yeah, no doubt. And I think a little bit of that, too, is just the shooting woes they've had. So they think, well, we got to try and find a better shot, So that could be part of it, too. But, well, Ed, you need to come to all the games so we win all the rest out.
Well, Tim, I think I'm going to try to make it to Xavier and to UConn. Just
Get your
because
tickets early for that Xavier game. I heard it's almost all sold out now. So
luckily my old man's had season tickets since '89, so I've been
There you
going to
go.
games since I was a kid. But I'm going Tuesday. I live in Indianapolis, so I'm going to bite the bullet
Nice.
and go see them at Hinkle. I stopped going to see them at Hinkle because of the nonsense that continues to occur, no matter how bad the Butler team is they play.
Yeah.
But I'm going to bite the bullet and go on Tuesday and hope that they can beat a really kind of poor Butler team, but we'll see.
All right, Ed. Hey, really appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Thanks again, guys. Take care.
Enjoy your time. Thanks, man.
Thank you. All right, bye-bye.
Tim, do you want to look at the schedule really quick? We're 10-8.
Yeah, I want to. Let's do that later because I just want to point out something to our listeners and viewers as we get Easton in here. We're also going to be joined here in a little bit by Kevin McNamara, Kevin Mac Sports. Been following Providence for 25 years, and he's been so kind to join us here in about 10 minutes to kind of break down the game with us. So I'm really excited about that. So let's get to Easton first. Hey, Easton. Hey, Easton, welcome.
Hey, Tim, how you doing?
Good.
Good. Did you see Baker Mayfield was at the game today?
I did. Why? Is he married to somebody from Omaha? Is that correct?
Yep. His wife is a West Side grad.
Okay.
I know her. I know her younger brother.
So, so you're leading off with that, Easton?
Yeah, I thought that was random. I did not expect to see that today.
Washed up NFL guy was at the game.
Come on.
Big deal.
Well,
how many snaps did you get in the NFL, Tim?
None, but it's not a big deal. He's at the game. There's probably other celebrities at the game.
Like you.
You know?
Host of Blue Jay Banner podcast.
There you go. Bruce Rasmussen was at the game. Greg McDermott. It's not Doug. Sorry. Anyway,
No,
Easton, what you got?
Yeah, I thought it was a good win. I'm just not disappointed. I thought it was kind of an underwhelming win because we still shot 18% from three, but I'm kind of impressed by the fact when Providence kind of tied the game late in the second half, we kind of we still found a way to win that. There was a point in that game when Baylor went out with those 4 fouls and Kaluma was out that our bench is still a huge liability because, man, did Providence come back in that game pretty quick.
Well, you're missing 2 of your starters, so that's pretty tough.
Yeah.
Plus, we went without Kalk there for a little bit, too, and that really hurt us. I knew right then when that happened, I looked at the clock and said, oh, boy, we got problems now. Credit to Mac. He pulled the string there and said, okay, we got to get these guys back in and put them in with about 8 minutes to go, and it made all the difference.
Yeah, I bet he had some good timeouts there, and when it looked like Providence was about to win this game, put them all back in. They made some plays. I got to give credit to Kaluma. I thought he was pretty bad most of the game, but when he needed to step up, he did. I think him and Brenner scored 20 of the last 26 points for the Jays.
Well, Mac told him in the huddle, he goes, hey, why are you fading away? The dude's got 3 fouls. Go at it. And then Art did 2 times in a row and scored both times.
Yeah, he still makes dumb I don't know what it is about him. He has some dumbest fouls I've ever seen. That third one, geez.
Yeah, that one he's got to know.
He's got to know hands way too much.
Yeah, he's got to know he's in foul trouble. I think his second one too, wasn't that a ticky-tacky? Tried to get a rebound when it was
the
same
deal. Yeah, that's his biggest thing is you can be aggressive to a point, but if you get your first foul that way, fine, whatever. But you can't just keep doing it and keep doing it and keep doing it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. But a season-saving win today. I think I see on KenPom, they're favored up until that UConn rematch. So a good time to rattle off 6-7 wins. That game, the Butler game too, scares me since that Hinkle. But I think if they can stack some more wins here, in that UConn game, I think we'll be in pretty good shape.
Yeah, I'd argue with you as season saving. We still a lot of basketball left to play, but it was good to get the win, no doubt about it. Thanks, man. Appreciate your phone call.
Yep.
Or Zoom. What do you call that? Do you call it a Zoom call? Do you call it a
I don't know.
What is the term for it?
Just
We got to
seems
come
like
up with
semantics.
we got to come up with a term for it because it's not a phone call. It's it's a
I don't know.
they just join us. But Ross, I do want to get to that later, but we probably are gonna be joined here by Kevin in about 5 minutes, so I want to give some time to him. But about the schedule, yes, absolutely, I do want to talk about that. But again, our sponsors, Equitable Bank, We Take Banking Personally, West Pacific Dental Group, and Infusion Brewery. I have the walk on in honor of the football playoffs. Zach has the Let It Fly. We're all set. And make sure you support them and drink their fine products. Great crowd today, huh, guys?
Yeah, I didn't go, but it looked like a very good crowd on TV.
Zach didn't go either. Well, then I will tell you about the great crowd. It was an awesome crowd. Student section was packed and ready. God, I know I'm just beating a dead horse here, but God, the in-game production is so bad. It's just like,
What's up, Blue Jay fans?
yeah, well, that aside, I'm not even going to go with that. Like, it's the DJ thing. Like, okay, so
Yeah.
So it's 2.5 minutes to go. It's a tight game. The crowd is ready to explode. So then he gets a song, finally gets a pump-up song, and the crowd's into it. He plays about 3 verses of it and then cuts it off and goes to another song that's really soft. And the crowd just went, oh, and all sit down. And, just you got to be aware that, and when you have to have Jake Ryan twice today on the PA go, hey, fans, let's make some noise. That should be Josh Jones is supposed to be doing that, I thought. But, the best one of the day was Providence went to the free throw line. Since you weren't there, you probably didn't hear it. Providence went to the free throw line, and there was like a substitution, so they're waiting, and he goes, hey, fans, it is allowable for you to make noise while the other team shoots free throws.
Who said that?
Jake Ryan.
Really?
Yeah.
And I also just want to add that I have nothing against Josh Jones. It just feels really forced.
I know it's not. Yeah. And then the other one. Yeah.
I think that something like that is the least of our issues. I hate to be this guy again and again and again and again and again. Done with Blue Crew.
I was waiting for it.
They're not really very involved this year as much as other years. I don't think. I don't know. But I mean, Ross, you have to get the big bitches, like Mac, we'll comment on, it was a good crowd, or the one crowd, Nebraska crowd, when he said, well, we didn't really give him a lot to cheer about, but yeah, it was kind of quiet and there. But I mean, when you got like, what would we have done in the past with 2.5 minutes to go in a tight game? To whip out the old Cheers video, that gets the whole crowd going.
Can you feel it?
Yeah.
Yep.
Or they do the thing from,
but the game was kind of in control at like the 2-minute mark, though. I mean,
it was still, Ross, it was a 5-point game. We can blow that in a heartbeat.
Yeah, that was I felt that it was very precarious.
So I'm going to tell you something, that the fact that and this is nothing new, we've known this for years and years and years, the fact that we even need stuff like that to get the crowd into it is in and of itself pathetic. We have one of the most, and it, for better or for worse, it is what it is. I'm not saying it's, I'm not accusing our fan base. We have the most wine and cheese crowd in college basketball. It just is. I'm calling a spade a spade. So
yeah, but you're missing my point though. That's not. You have the crowd at a certain level, then you can even ramp that up a little more. Okay. The crowd wasn't sitting on their hands at that point. They were into the game, okay? But you can ramp it up and make it just deafening in there, and they don't do that. That's their job, Ross. I'm sorry. That's their job. That's why you have all this stuff. I don't know.
Fair.
But
another news, Alabama's got 40 on LSU right now.
Yeah, well, they're playing pretty well. All right. We are now joined in just a minute here by Kevin McNamara of Kevin Mac Sports. Kevin, are you there? You are.
I am. There I am, Tim. How are you, man?
I get to see your great-looking face. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good. How you doing? I wish I was out there today, but couldn't make it out.
It was a great atmosphere. A lot of Providence fans that was here. Quite frankly, I don't normally see very many from other teams here. And today I saw a fair amount of Providence fans. So that was great.
Yeah, they travel with a good chunk of fans. They put them right on the team plane. So I think those are probably the only ones. My guess is Providence doesn't have many Nebraska alums, but who knows?
These guys were up on the mid-level, so they weren't with the team. They were enjoying a lot of very good beverages we have here in Omaha as well. So
hey, it's a Saturday game. Get some boys together. Head out to the Creighton game. I love it.
Absolutely.
Kevin, what do you think of the game, Kevin?
Well, I'm a big Creighton fan. I voted them. I'm a top 25 voter. I voted them preseason in the top 10. Obviously, they're close losses and the injury to Kalkbrenner really threw them off in the non-conference. If they're whole, they can win the Big East. I mean, I don't know why you wouldn't think that. And the combination of Shireman and Kalkbrenner makes them very, very good. If Shireman, I think he might be the best player in the league. I'm very partial to the way that they play. If Shireman doesn't leave that game with foul trouble, he left twice, both with 3 fouls and then again with 4. I don't think Providence makes their push because he controlled the game that much. And then Kalkbrenner, Providence's issue is around the rim. Ed Croswell is as tough as nails, as tough as any guy in the league. He's 6'7" on a good day. And Kalkbrenner's, I don't know. You guys can tell me, is he 6'11" or 7'1"?
Oh, God, no. He's 7'1". He's 7'1".
Yep.
Yeah.
And he dominated the game around the rim. No question.
I've even heard some national guys go, look, I stood next to that dude, and he is 7'1" plus, man. I brought this up a couple of times, and I wanted to get your opinion on it. You just kind of mentioned it a little bit there. I kind of thought when, the game was 14, 12, 14, 16 points, and I knew Providence would make a run at some point, but I kind of thought that this looked like this was like a bad matchup for Providence because a couple of things, like you mentioned Kalkbrenner, the last 2 games he'd had to step out. We played Xavier. He had to step out on the 3-point line and guard those guys. Well, that takes him away from the basket. He doesn't have to guard Croswell, right? So that's a big thing. That's what Creighton wants to do. Secondly, I thought Schreierman was a mismatch for them, for Providence on the offense. Like they didn't have anybody that could really put the size they needed on him, and he was able to get in the lane. And then third, they had a tough time controlling Alexander. It just seemed like it was a kind of a bad matchup for the Friars.
Well, Providence played without Jared Bynum. They missed him today. They really missed him. Where they didn't, I shouldn't say it. They missed him against St. John's as well, but they missed him today. It's tough to ask Alan Breed to create offense, and you have to score against Creighton. You're not going to shut down Creighton. Providence did a very good job in the second half defensively. In the first half, they were clinging to that game. That could have been a 20-point game in the first half pretty quickly. And then, Providence, they make you play at their pace, and they finally did that in the second half, grinded things out. I think you saw why Bryce Hopkins is one of the better players, around. But down the stretch, Kalkbrenner was just a little too much. And if you remember, in the Big East tournament last year, they were very tough for Providence to defend as well. And Shireman's a problem. That they need Devin Carter to be able to guard Shireman and not switch. They switched way too much in the first half, and Shireman's very crafty. He took advantage of every mismatch.
Kevin, what do you think about this year's Providence team? I was talking about earlier how I watched actually a decent bit of that first game they had against Rider where they almost lost at home. And I thought that they would end up struggling this year a little bit, and they've completely done the opposite. And so what do you think of this team compared to last year's, obviously Big East regular season winner, and go on to the Sweet 16 and got all this great press? So what do you think are some similarities, differences, et cetera?
But besides that, they play with that chip on the shoulder toughness that Ed Cooley's teams, bring. There's very little in common. Last year, a super senior team, all sorts of seniors, a lot of it Big East experience, 2 guys who fit in really well as transfers. This year, it was like an AAU team out of the chute. That's why you saw them struggle early against Rider. They were off to a 5-3 start. And since then, they won 9 in a row before today. And so I think Ed Cooley's done a good job bringing this group together. They have a lot more room to grow and get better, especially if they can get Bynum back and playing at a pretty good level. They have some experience, but their best players are young. Hopkins is a sophomore who really didn't play at Kentucky at all last year. And how about John Calipari? What was he thinking? Okay. And Devin Carter is a very good sophomore as well. Those are the building blocks going forward. They have a couple super seniors who came in. One of them is the kid Clifton Moore, who played just a little bit today. Clifton Moore, they badly needed him today. He's 6'11", transfer from LaSalle. You guys probably didn't even know he was in the game. When Providence plays Creighton again, he needs to be a factor. And that's really why they brought him in as a fifth-year player, to get bigger, because Ed Croswell's a good player. He's too small to match up against 7-footers, and you're going to face 7-footers either in the Big East or in the NCAA tournament.
Right. You mentioned what's Calipari doing, and then he doesn't play Hopkins yet. He has Davion Mintz, who you saw at Creighton was pretty pedestrian, goes there and starts for 2 years. It's like crazy. The schedule now flips around for Creighton. Like they're done with Marquette, UConn, Xavier on the road. They only have to go to Providence. And there's a big, I think you'll probably agree with us, there's a big gap between the top 5 and the bottom 6. Huge gap. That's kind of unusual, actually.
Yeah, well, here's the stat. It's pretty wild. There's no question. There's 5 teams that have separated themselves. We know who they are. Those teams have played 8 games against one another. The road team is 0-8.
Yeah.
So there's a lot to be decided in this league. Someone's going to start to win some games on the road. Providence has an opportunity next at Marquette. And, Tim, that's really going to be the way that maybe the NCAA committee can decide, which teams shake out here. It's they like to say it's the entire season. It is the entire season. Creighton's going to be a team that's going to be underseeded. It's as simple as that. I don't know what they're going to be. No one's going to want to play them in the first round because they're not going to be a 3 seed or maybe even a 4 seed, depending on what happens the rest of the way here. And that's what they are. That's what their talent level is. Ask the pro scouts who come to the arenas. I know those guys. I talk to their guys. Kalkbrenner, Kaluma, Shireman, Alexander. They're all, I don't know if they're NBA players, but they're professional players.
Yeah, absolutely. And I also think it's going to be of those top 5, it's going to be the first team that blinks and loses to one of the bottom 6 on the road.
No question. And, that'd be the one bad loss. I have a hard time thinking that any of those 5 won't make the tournament because I think they're good teams and will be able to stack up some wins. But, you appreciate this because Creighton's been in the tournaments, the big tournament, so much. The fans' focus always seems to be the Big East tournament. And I think at this stage, Providence and Creighton fans, they want to be playing well for the NCAA tournament. And that's all about a seed. It's all about a seed.
Yeah. I do think, they lost today. I was kind of surprised, actually, because after I saw Seton Hall come here to Omaha, I was like, man, that team could be the worst team in the league. But they did go to DePaul and win. I kept saying, I think DePaul has some guys there where I think they could be the top of the bottom 6. I mean, I just think that I don't have any faith in Villanova. I've watched them so much, and they just look the same. They remind me of the team that Creighton had the year after Doug left, and we said, well, we're going to be okay. We got Avery Dingman, Artino, and these guys played a lot. I think you're seeing now these guys that are trying to win for them are basically role players with other really good players.
You need some high end players to be an upper level team in a league like the Big East and any of the 6 good leagues around the country. You need some upper level guys. Justin Moore is an upper level guy. I don't know. I don't have any intel there what he's going to do. I don't really see the point of coming back at this stage.
I'm hearing he's cleared and he's just not coming. I'm hearing he's done.
It doesn't make a lot of sense. If he wants to play next year, fine, play next year. But what's he going to be able to show pro scouts between now and the Big East tournament? I just have a hard time. And he's coming off of, obviously, a super serious injury. So I agree. I like Eric Dixon. I like, some of their pieces, but they're not as good as the 5 teams that have separated themselves. And by the way, I think Xavier is very good. Connecticut is very good. They have great size, positional size. Around the country, there's good teams. There's not a lot of great teams. You saw Tennessee today lose at home to Kentucky. Kentucky's not good. They are. I've seen them enough. They're not very good. So it's kind of. I wouldn't say it's wide open, but it's pretty wide open.
Yeah. Yeah. So you said, okay, to wrap up here. So go to Marquette next week.
Marquette on Wednesday, a difficult game, a very difficult team to defend, as you guys know. And then Providence will come home and play DePaul and Butler. So again, not that the whole show is about games among those 5 teams, but that's kind of the whole show.
Yeah, yeah. So they get a little break again. So they've got to go to Xavier yet, right?
Xavier and UConn.
Yeah. So okay. Yeah. All right. Kevin, I can't thank you enough for joining us. Really appreciate it.
No problem. I'm about to get in the car and go up to Boston for a night or two. So
Oh, there we go.
You caught me at a good time.
All right, man. Thanks.
Anytime.
We'll
Enjoy, guys.
All right.
Thanks, Kevin.
You got it.
Kevin McNamara, KMAX Sports, just the greatest. Got a great breakdown there. All right, Ross, let's get to your schedule. Let's go. What do you got? By the way, may I mention, I'm very, very stoked about this. The Seattle Seahawks are leading the Niners right now.
Yep, 14-13. I just checked that.
I couldn't care less about that. We've got a tight one in Lawrence, 53-52 Iowa State with about 5 minutes left.
Ross, I saw that. I told my buddy Mike, who's been on this show very many times. I told him before the game, I go, I didn't like many of the lines today, but that's one I looked at and I go, Iowa State always plays them tough at Allen Fieldhouse. Always.
Yeah, and they're tough. God, Iowa State's they're just tough in general. The schedule, though, we have 8 losses. I think that this team can. I think we have 6 home games left. Okay.
Yes, we do.
Home games: St. John's, Xavier, Villanova, Connecticut, Marquette,
Georgetown,
and Georgetown. I think you have to, at a minimum. I think we have to go 5-1.
I think we can go 5-1.
And I think we can go 5-1. And I think this team can go 6-0 in that home game stretch.
Yeah, well, at least 5-1. Okay. Yep. I'm just doing this in my head because I want to see if we match up.
So all right. So let's say conservatively, then let's say, I'm on the optimistic side and say we don't drop any more at home. Okay. All right. Let's say we do. Something happens. We go 5-1. Okay. So then on the road, play at Butler, at Georgetown, at Seton Hall, at Providence, at St. John's, at Villanova, at DePaul. I mean, I think you gotta go 4-3 at a minimum. And
exactly what you got me at, Russ. That's exactly what I got him at. Going into today, I had 6-1, 4-3. That's 10-4. That puts us at 19 and 12. Yeah.
Then you go to
as I have said many times on BlueJayBanner.com, and I think I even said on this show, there was a team about 5-6 years ago. Vanderbilt had the number 1 ranked schedule in the country, as we do. Okay.
Yep.
They went 19-15, had only 2 wins in Q1 and got in.
I remember that.
So if we go 20-13 and we're going to have, if we do what we say we're going to do there, we're going to have at least 4 or 5 Q1 wins and another 6 or so in Q2. By the way, today was a Q2 win. It wasn't Q1 because Providence is only like 35th in the net. So, but anyway, that's going to be plenty to get in. We don't have to worry about getting in. Pretty good discussion from a guy from Field 68 started today, and I was going back and forth with him. He's just like, I haven't really looked at bracketology much, but I'm starting to look at it. And he goes, my God, what the hell do you do with Creighton? And he goes, they really probably aren't any better than, say, right now. You could barely have them in. But he goes, can you imagine being a 3 seed and getting that bracket put out, and you see Creighton in the play-in game on your side of the draw, where they then play a 6 and then play 3, he goes, or even if they got to be a 10 seed and you're a 2 seed, I mean, you're not playing a 10 seed. He goes, you're playing like a 3 or a 4 seed.
Yeah. I think there's still a lot of season left. I think
right.
Let's say, okay, so this team is 10-8. Let's say they kind of go gangbusters here. So there's 6, how many, we have 13 Big East games left?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's say they go 11-2, Tim. Okay. So they have 10 losses going into Big East tournament. They finish 2nd or 3rd in the Big East. What seed line will they be at? Could they get up to like a 6 or a 7 at that point?
And I think people get crazy with the losses. Go back and look at the history of the NCAA. There's tons of like 4 seeds.
Oh my God.
That have 4 losses. All kinds of teams. Yeah.
There was one year Kansas was a 2 seed, and I think they had 9 losses.
Yeah. They're gonna give the ends. If there's one thing, like I get so ticked with the NCAA committee sometimes because they do things differently every year. So how is a team supposed to know what's important? But the one thing they're really big on is strength of schedule. They reward strength of schedule.
I was on Jehenz's podcast yesterday. He had me on. We were chatting about the season, and I
you tell that little weasel, how many times have I said to him in person, when are you going to have me on? Oh, yeah, Tim, I'm going to have you on next year. He's a weasel.
Anyways,
he's my bud. Back when he played, him and I were buds. We were
when I said this, and I believe it still, and will believe. I believe it even more today. This team is at least the starting 5, and I do feel like Fran Farabella is getting more comfortable game by game, but the starting 5 is talented enough to make a deep run. They just are. And so, it depends on, obviously Kevin said it depends on your seeding, but you got to do the work to get there first. But I'm not that concerned with seeding, especially this year. Like I've watched all these teams, the best team I've seen really is Houston. All these other teams, I'm just like,
and they have a, I think there's a plan where how you could beat Houston. You know what I mean? Like they're not.
I really like UCLA.
Yeah. I think Arizona's the best team I've seen this year, but they've shown.
I agree.
They've shown if they have a bad shooting night from 3, they're very beatable.
Totally. Yeah, this isn't the year that ironically they didn't even end up winning it, but the year that Kentucky basically went undefeated all the way through until they lost, but in the Final Four. But we don't have any of those, and I just think there's so much parity, and it's been like that for a few years now. There's just so much parity in the game. I just think that this team, this core group, is talented enough, and we're still even figuring some things out on the fly. I just have a feeling. I don't know what it is. I have got a gut feeling that they are going to be playing their best basketball come Big East tournament, come March, and they've got the horses to make a run. You have to have the horses. You have to have the guard play, and you've got to have a competent big, and we have both.
I feel like this next game is so important because if we win that, then we have 8 days off till we play another 2 more home games back to back.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's just going to be huge. But the big thing with this will be with Butler. They were banged up last night. They're missing 3 guys last night. And if those guys can't play against us with our pace, Villanova walks it up. I mean, if they can't play with our pace, they're going to be in big, big trouble.
Okay, of the road games left, at Butler, at Georgetown, at Seton Hall, at Providence, at St. John's, at Nova, at DePaul, which couple scare you the most?
The last game of the year against at DePaul, because by then I think DePaul will be okay. I think that'll be a tough one. We don't blow them out at their place very often. Those are some tough games. So I'm a little worried about that. And then
I think DePaul takes such bad shots.
They make bad shots too. That's the problem. And then I would say, I don't know, maybe Villanova, maybe.
Not Providence?
See, I think at
No, he's talking about the bottom teams.
Oh.
He's not counting Providence game.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think at St. John's is because
I
don't
don't talk
know.
about an awful Ross, you talk about an awful team though. They are.
I know, but they're so hard to figure out because I've seen them play. But there's times I've seen them play, and I'm like, this team has got some pieces. They should have a better record than they have. So that's why that game scares me as to, it's going to be a little bit later. It's February 18th. What's St. John's record going to be at that point? And I don't know. That one scares me.
Oh, bad. I think their guys will quit by then. That's what I think. They're just not very good. I don't know. But then I don't think Seton Hall's very good. I don't, Georgetown obviously is horrific.
If you had to bet on one team, well, obviously now Xavier's first and 6-0 in the league. But if you had to bet on one team come mid-March now to get the 1 seed in Big East tournament, who are you tossing your money down on?
Xavier.
Okay.
I second that.
Be close, but here's something though too, Ross. When you were talking about rattling up, when you're going through the schedule, I want everybody to understand we got a great shot at still winning the Big East outright.
We really do. That's the crazy part. I mean, we're 4-3. We're 4-3. UConn's 4-3. But I mean, speaking of schedules, Xavier's toughest game in league.
Xavier's got some road games coming up. They haven't played anybody on the road yet.
Toughest game in league so far has been UConn at home. Okay, they've played. Yeah, they've got. Okay, so now they play Marquette at home. I think I'm really high on Marquette. I think Marquette could beat them at Xavier. Then they have to go to UConn, to Creighton, Providence, back to back. Well, they play Providence at home, but they go at UConn, at Creighton, Providence at home.
They have to go to Providence yet, though, too, don't they?
Yeah, and then at the end of the year, they have to play at Providence. They still have to play at Marquette.
Well, they've got 5 tough games coming up.
I mean, this thing could turn. I mean, these standings could turn quickly.
And then again, like we're talking with Kevin, who's going to be that team that loses to one of the bottom 6 on the road, or God forbid, even at home?
I agree.
Yeah. So there's a lot of things that can happen. Yeah. And just remember that Big East team that won the Big East for Creighton a couple of years ago, they were 4-3.
Yeah.
At that point in the season.
They really came on late.
Right.
Won some big road
Max
games.
teams do that. Okay, so you guys weren't at the game. Before we get to our we're going to get to Jerry though. Let's get to Jerry here in a minute. But while we wait for Jerry to join us. So you guys weren't at the game. So, Mac and Ed are best friends. So Mac and Ed always does this. So they come out, they hug, and then Ed looks for Teresa. And he sees her, he waves at her and starts blowing her some kisses, right? In the meantime, Mac has gone down and shook all the other coaches' hands and is coming back. And he's catching Ed blowing her kisses. And he grabs him and goes, "What the hell are you doing blowing kisses at my wife?" And Ed goes, "Watch this." And he blows a couple more at her. It was a great moment.
That's funny.
Those two guys have a great time together.
I'm a huge Ed Cooley fan.
Yeah, he's a good dude.
I did see a little bit of his post-game, I don't know if it's a podcast, but he does kind of a Zoom interview. Kevin does a Zoom interview with Ed. And he asked him about that. And he said 2 things. He said 40 points in the paint's way too many. He goes, we give up way too many points in the paint. And he said, the second thing he said was, he goes, Schreierman and Kalkbrenner together are, he goes, impossible combination.
Yeah.
But they were good today. They were good today together. I mean, there's other games where they haven't been as good, but they were good today together. So, all right, Jerry, are you there?
I'm here. if I have the show on and I try to zoom on it, I hear echoes. I have to turn the system off. Yeah. So,
You got it.
Got that. So
what's going on?
I don't know. Must-win game. I mean, we had to have that game today, and we did. I think Trey and Call, came up pretty big. So, but yeah, they thought the crowd was good. Heard you guys talking about the schedule. Yeah, I think it's important, at least for the Big East tournament, to finish third. If you look how it breaks out, if you're in the 4 or 5 game, you're going to be playing another top team. If you get to 3 and above, you'll get to play one of the teams that had to come off the playing game, either, between 6, 7, and 8. I think it's a big gap there. So to make a run in the Big East tournament, it'd be nice to be a 3 seed or above, because you don't get caught in that 4 or 5 game where you're playing another top
right
team, so.
Right. And it'd probably be better to be a 2, because that team that's a 3, you're going to play 6 versus 11. That's going to be a blowout versus Georgetown. So they're not going to have to work very hard. That other game could be a nail biter,
Right.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. That's a good point.
Today, I thought, obviously, Trey was good. Shireman was good. I didn't get to see that charge foul on Shireman. I was sitting kind of behind the basket.
Oh, that's the worst call.
I thought the guy flopped like a Mack truck hit him. I thought it was terrible in that. I thought.
You mean no? Are you talking about the one right at the end where he got?
No, I was talking about his second one in the start of the second half. His second foul. He was kind of going. He wasn't even going toward the basket. He caught it. It was kind of dribbling sideways, and the Providence guy fell down like he got hit by a truck, and they called.
That was a charge. That was a charge.
Okay, he stuck his arm out.
He put his shoulder into him.
He did.
Yeah.
I had a good view of that on TV. They showed the replays, and
the one where he got screwed. The one where he got screwed was on the rebound. It was an over the back call.
Oh yeah. Matt got pretty upset about that.
And that was horrible.
Right. Then his 5th foul. I mean, that was you can't be more stationary than he was.
No, that was just terrible. It was that same one gray-haired ref. He's the one who called all 3 of those bad calls. Driscoll called the one over the back. That was horrible. But the other charging calls that were all iffy, he called them all. It was crazy. By the way, I know Ross doesn't give a crap about this, but the rest of us do. So the Niners drive down and kick a field goal to take the lead, 16-14 right before the half. Seattle runs one play, Geno slides, and the guy clocks him as he's sliding. They get an additional 15 yards. The guy nails a 56-yarder at the end of the half, so they're back in the lead. Wow, what a bonehead play.
Got the game on.
Abe Kalsher just hit a massive 3 for Iowa State. It's 60-60 in Allen Fieldhouse with about 25 seconds left.
Ooh, baby.
Oh, wow. Yeah, if you can go win in Allen Fieldhouse, that's big. That's a tough place to win at.
Iowa's been so close there so many years, and they just can never pull it off,
It's tough. You don't get many calls down the stretch at Allen Fieldhouse if you're visiting.
Yeah.
You think something's wrong with R2? He seemed off today. He's not hitting shots. He made a couple of bad turnovers.
By the way, I should point this out. Baylor's sick. He's been sick the last 2 nights, hardly got any sleep. So Mac didn't even know how much he's going to get out of him today.
Played pretty good sick, you ask me, yeah.
Yeah, R2 was bad today. He just doesn't. Yeah, there's something. He played pretty good defense. I'll give him that. He was playing pretty good defense. But he didn't have his best game. That's for sure. That's for sure.
So what do we got to do to beat Butler? Just show up, or what do you think?
Well, I mean, we got to hit some shots, because Hinkle's tough with that. And actually, today I think that's good. Because we had to score in the paint today because we weren't making any threes, right?
Again,
so that's good. Just not let them get in the game. Like that's a problem with Villanova. They let them get out to 10-point lead. Now Villanova came back, took the lead a little bit, but then they had to work so hard to get back in the game that then Butler was able to take over again. We just got to put our foot on our throat right off the get-go and have an 8-10-point lead throughout the whole ball game and kind of get them out of the game at any chance they can win. If they're still missing those 3 guys, it's going to be really tough for Butler, because we do any pace, they're going to wear down.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. All right, Jay.
Pull out Tuesday. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, man. Okay. So let's get right to Unsung Hero today. I have a nomination.
I got one too.
Farabello.
Well, Zach, you go.
Francisco Farabello.
Oh, that was mine.
Sniper.
So Francisco played 20 minutes today. So that's a lot. Had 2 points, only 1 foul, but 2 assists and 2 steals. I thought he did a great job on defense.
He was active. He was scrappy. I love to see it. And his one basket came on an amazing cut. Just a great backdoor cut.
By the way, so we had Kaluma with 9.3 rebounds. Kolk had 21 and 7 rebounds. Only credited with 1 block. Interesting. Nemhard had 3 assists, 1 turnover, no points, 4 rebounds. Trey Alexander, 20 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists. Baylor, of course, had 19, 7 rebounds, and a quiet rebounding night for him. We got, again, second game in a row, we've got out-rebounded by 15. Most of those were on the offensive glass today, which Providence really, excels at.
Yeah, that's been one of their calling cards for many, many years.
Yeah, but and the other thing too, of those 2 that were 50-50 tips and guys were going out and the ball bounces high off the backboard and goes in twice, within about 3 or 4 minutes of the game. I was like, oh my God, those kind of an offensive rebound. So, whatever.
KU escapes per usual.
Nice, they covered. I stay covered. All right, so worst call. My buddy Mike said that over the back on Trevor. He goes, well, that's going to be, you can mark that one down because there's not going to be a worse call than that. I don't know. There was nothing on the line at the end, really, but that block they called on Schreierman was, and they showed it on the big screen too after that. And the people there's people leaving with 3 minutes to go and it was a 1-point game. I mean,
it's always been like that. It's always going to be.
Drives me nuts.
That's what I'm saying.
There was a ton of people that left. And I'm like,
biggest wine and cheese
where do you have to go at 3 o'clock on a Saturday? Yep. My God. That's crazy. But anyway, so which is the worst? Was there any other nominees? There was plenty of other bad calls. Oh, I want to talk something because you guys weren't there. So nobody else except me saw this when Ed got his technical. Okay. I think that was a accumulation technical. I think that was one of those deals where him and that ref had been going at it a while because that ref was all the way across the floor from him.
Yeah, that's why I thought it was on the player.
Yeah, so the call happened, and the Cooley went nuts and just kind of did one of these with his arms, like because it was a TV timeout, went back and then said something, and then boom, the guy teed him.
I actually have a worse call. The over the back call in the first half that they called a foul on Baylor.
Yeah, no, I nominated that one. That's one I said was the clear-cut winner until the charge at the end.
Oh, you did say, that's right. That's right.
Yeah,
right. That is okay. Sorry.
Yeah, that was horrible. That was just, I don't know what the hell he was looking at there.
That was horrible.
I don't know if he thought it was he didn't go to the screen to see if it was a hook and hold. I mean, that would have been a more logical situation than just a foul on Baylor. Baylor just stood there. I don't know what. Oh, so bad. But I know Providence fans will be mad about that tee on that because that was a big deal because Creighton had just scored. And then we got 2 free throws and got the ball again. I mean, we didn't connect on that possession, but I mean, that was huge. That was 2 points big 2 points right there.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and Ed can get on, get on refs pretty good, but he generally doesn't get many tees. And that was a quick one. Boy, he really toned it down after that, though. He was out on the floor a lot after that. He was back by his bench. He was pretty quiet. So, but Mac was riding the refs pretty hard too today. I mean, they were just like Mac said after the game, though, he goes, the way Providence plays, it's tough to officiate because there's so much contact on every possession.
Right. So it's like, are you going to call foul literally every single possession? Yeah.
And Matt kept saying, look, we're putting our hands up We're not sticking our legs out like they are, and you're calling fouls on us. That was his whole point. So, well, I think it's a tie between those two.
I think a lot of Baylor's fouls are really weak. Almost all of them.
Yeah, but again, when he had the 3 and there's a scrum on the floor, he's just got to let that go.
Yeah.
That possession right there's not that important. I mean, end up being their ball anyway because he got a foul, right? So just let that go. I mean, he's that valuable to us. We haven't had a guy probably since, I don't know, Doug maybe, that we have to have, or maybe Marcus Foster that we have to have on the floor. I mean, you could argue different. You could argue different guys throughout the years, but we had pieces around them, I think, as much as Baylor means to us. And you saw what happened when he went to the bench, I
mean, him and Big Ryan both.
Yeah. 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 Fred, missed that bunny, but other than that, he was pretty active in there today. He didn't get a lot of run, but
yeah, I was just to say he didn't, besides missing the bunny, he didn't play a ton of minutes.
Yeah. So you know what, guys? I think this is probably our best instant reaction show. I'm just gonna.
Why do you say that?
Well, you didn't think it was any good, Ross?
No, I'm just curious what your. No, I did. I'm just curious what your reasoning was.
Well, we had some people join us, which is always nice. Okay. Coach Miller was good, and then having Kevin on is great.
Kevin was good. I agree.
Great insight onto the other teams. What are they thinking? And we typically can't have beat writers on because they're busy trying to get their damn story done. So, but it was great having Kevin on. Great having Coach Miller on. Great to our guests who joined us. Well, that's what we'll call them, our video guests. We won't have a Blue Jay Banner on Monday because we got to flip right around Tuesday and have another instant reaction. So we will just do the instant reaction immediately following the Butler game, which I think tips at 6, if I'm correct.
And just an update, Lady Jays win 75-56 against Butler.
All right, yeah, Butler's not very good.
If you want to watch Creighton's old ball coach, Oregon just tipped against Arizona on ESPN.
Boy, are they bad.
Yeah,
this is Dana's worst team in forever.
And they weren't very good last year either. He's had a couple of down years here.
Yeah, it might be about time for Dana to have the old ball coach call it a day. All right, so we will join you right after the Butler Show. Thanks so much for listening. Again, hit subscribe.